Alrighty then. We got an exhaust, slightly oval tip, stainless steel muffler, up over the axle with a V-band flange. It's gonna sound pretty good, I think. Also, the gas tank is holding gas. It hasn't leaked. I put 50 liters into her, and she's good. Makes fuel pressure. I tested the fuel pump circuit. No leaks there. Really happy with that. Had it cranking over last night with the starter relay, so all that stuff's hooked up there. Looking pretty good. And on the ground right here, I have a simplified engine wiring harness. So I cut all the tape and the loom and everything off of it this morning, and went through and deleted all there's EGR and AC stuff that was in there and all taped off. Somebody had already moved that from the car, and we don't need any of that. And everything that I do need is in here and labeled. So up at the ECU, we've got a couple wires for the vehicle speed sensor, so I'm going to have to extend those down to the speed sensor on the transmission. We've got a few grounds, so there's one ground here at the ECU, and then there's another 2 grounds on the other end of it. And I've got my test light hooked up here so that we can see the fuel pump relay turning on and off. There's a monitor wire that goes back to the ECU for when the fuel pump is turned on. It wants to be able to confirm that that relay actually turned on and is running the fuel pump. So I have that wired up. You've got your map sensor, mass airflow. This goes down to the O2 sensor harness, so you have a left and right O2 sensor. This goes up to the distributor, and then these two plug into the engine harness for all your injectors and coolant temperature sensor and all that fun stuff. So let's hook it up here. This is ignition power, so there's one power wire that goes to the fuel pump relay, which is there, and then the other one hooks up to this gray connector, the red with a green stripe, and that's your main ignition power in the Mustang when you turn the key on. So let's touch it here and listen to what happens. So you see how the fuel pump relay turns on momentarily. That means that this thing's awake and probably ready to go. We're gonna hear this thing running today. I'm excited. Oh yeah, so this part of the harness here, this is like the headlight harness, and in there are some of the connections for the alternator. So I think that yellow wire, where does it go? Up here. That's all the stuff that hooks up to the alternator. So I'm gonna have to cut this apart, isolate this connection. I believe everything except for that green wire just goes right to the battery, and then this green wire is going to go to the alternator indicator bulb on the dash, which should work with the Fairlane setup. And what else? On these connectors over here, you've got a couple wires. There's one for oil pressure and one for your coolant temp. So there's a separate coolant temperature sensor, so that should make the gauges on the dash work. It's pretty simple. You just have to tear it all apart and stare at the wiring diagrams and drink a bunch of coffee. You can figure it out.